Welcome in, listeners. This is Margin Mavens, a podcast hosted by Steph and Kayla, where we share our thoughts on all things literature. Today's episode, we're taking things back to 2009, and we're talking about Fallen by Lauren Kate. So make sure you grab a snack and a drink, unless you're driving, then remember 10 and 2, and come hang out with us while we dive in. First and foremost, I want to say I was obsessed with this book.
Yeah,
I
understand why.
It's one of the only books I think I finished in the past year, which really just says a lot. Have not been able to read another book since. But that's like its whole separate conversation. So, Fallen by Lauren Kate is one of the books during the 2009 era, like within, I think, literally 1 month. I think it was like September. The other one was probably like December. There were two very notable series that came out in 2009, kind of following the same premise, right? It was a weird phenomenon that was happening, which we talked about with the author in our White Lights video, where publishing houses were just suddenly really interested in like the Nephilim and like fallen angels and what would happen if they were actually real and they were in love and like reincarnation and all of these cool things. Right, so I believe I ran into Fallen first. And then I got into the Hush Hush series by, I think her name is Becca Fitzpatrick. Big question mark at the end of that. But so Fallen follows a girl named Luce Price, where she, from the jump, is your typical broody teenager that has a mysterious past. She's getting dropped off at a boarding school, right? That's the word for it?
Yes. It is almost kind of like a military-esque school. Actually.
Yeah, it's a boarding school for kids with bad habits, right? And so people believe that Luce's bad habit is like arson. And because she was involved, or she was there when a horrible accident occurs, and her life kind of gets shaped from that. From the very beginning, she kind of makes eye contact multiple times throughout the book, but she meets this boy named Daniel Gregory, and he is described as being very handsome, very mysterious, and he's very cold to her, right? Which is all of the combos that we need to know that he's going to be the love interest, right? Like we've played this game before. So she kind of like is meandering her way through life. She meets, I'm forgetting the girl's name.
Penelope.
Like her bestie.
Penelope? Penelope.
No, maybe. Yeah, Pen. Yep.
Pen.
Yep. Yeah, so Pen kind of gives her the lowdown on everything. As the story kind of progresses, we start meeting other people like Ariane, we start meeting Cam, we start meeting just a bunch of characters that fall into two very distinct groups, right? And so this book, like we said, came out in 2009, so I'm not going to feel so bad about spoiling anything because it's been a very long time.
Yeah, it's been like 17 years, y'all. Come on.
Yeah, so like, man, can't help you. But suffice to say, over the course of the book, we find out that Daniel is, or well, a lot of them actually are all fallen angels, right? And we find out that Luce, because of all of these flashbacks and like memories and like dreams that she's had, she is basically destined / cursed, depending on how you view it, to meet Daniel in every lifetime, fall in love with Daniel in every lifetime, and then die through spontaneous combustion every single time that they touch, right? So Daniel does what I think a lot of people would, and he is trying to basically fight this destiny, and the only way that he really can is by trying to be like rude to her, like shut off, cold, hoping that she doesn't pursue him, right? But it's destined to fail. They still fall in love. The big kicker of this book is that at the end they touch. I can't remember if there's a kiss shared or not. I was like, there is a kiss. And she doesn't die. Right? Which then shows that everything is now different. They are now in uncharted territory. This has never happened before. We talked about other characters. So, like, we have Cam, who is also a fallen angel, but he's more on the darker side of things. He is the stereotypical bad boy, right? So he also kind of becomes Luce's love interest for a moment, but he's a lot more... He's never been subtle a day in his life. Right. And so he kind of turns her off very quickly because she likes the attention, especially because Daniel at the point is not giving her the attention. But he's coming on a little too strong, and he's like, damn, like, you really are just destined to, like, be cursed and be with this man when, like, nothing would happen if you were with me, right? It becomes an echoing conversation of, like, Twilight, where, like, Jacob is like, you wouldn't have to change anything to be with me. Right. Whereas you have to change everything in order to be with Edward, and yada, yada, yada. It becomes, like, the echoing conversation, which makes a lot of sense, because around those times, you know, Twilight was still very popular, and it was, like, probably, like, up and coming at this point.
Yes. So,
like, it all checks out. Kayla. Yes. Obviously, in 2009, you were living a very different life.
Yes, I was.
Than I was.
Yes.
What did you think of the book?
I enjoyed it. I did. Uh-huh. I do enjoy the characters and what have you. It is very... I feel like if I read this when I was a teenager, I would have eaten the shit up, right? Like, this was right up my alley. Like, the supernatural elements, the teenagers, the boys, like, all of that. Like, give it to me. Like, that's what I needed when I was a teenager. However, as somebody who has a teenager, is a parent,
yeah,
this was almost kind of like a horror novel for me. Because, like, the amount of times I was like, oh my god, no, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? What?
Why are you
and it
going
just gets
to
worse.
This place with this boy?
Yes, it just gets worse with the next book, and I'm like, oh my god, why is nobody using their brain? And I'm like, oh my god, teenagers, why are y'all like this? So it's really just like a mix of, like, I definitely would have enjoyed this as a kid, but also this is terrifying me.
Yeah, I get that. I definitely enjoyed it more as a teenager because you can, like, really understand and appreciate and connect with Luce as a character when you are in that same sort of mindset of her, of, like, I have no idea what's going on. And it's very... Reading books where the main character is a teenager, specifically a teenage girl, because obviously can relate, been there, done that. I can 100% understand and relate to the, like, boy obsession. Right? Like, right. She's going to this brand new school. Everything's really scary. You know, she's about to... I think she's, like, getting old enough. All the books that I've tried to read recently are really melting together.
She's like 17.
Yeah, so she, you know, she's getting to that point where, like, in another year or so, she could theoretically be out on her own, making all of these, like, big girl decisions that you feel like you're capable of doing at 18, and then, like, looking back now at 27, you're like, oh, I should have had more adult supervision.
Yes.
It's very reminiscent of that because she's dealing with all these scary things, and yet she's still so focused on what boy likes me, what boy is paying attention to me, am I going to go on a date with them, why is he ignoring me? You know, like, she's got so many bigger problems. She's got the traumatic memories of, like, how the last boy that she had any sort of connection with died.
Mm-hmm.
She's got I'm in this scary new place where things are kind of happening. From the guise of like mental health, you know, she's not doing the greatest. From the guise of not being supernatural, because by that, you know, for a majority of the book, she doesn't know it's supernatural. Like,
right.
She's experiencing all these things, and yet she's still so focused on this frickin' boy. And
yes.
it's so reminiscent of being a teenager, because I think, like, you get older and you hopefully start to kind of realize, like, oh crap, like, there's so much more to life than, like, whether someone is romantically interested in me.
Right.
And so I saw a lot of my younger self in her priorities, which I think is what made me appreciate the book so much. I am looking forward to reading the rest of them, because I know, like, I've read the entire series, the stakes get higher. I'm also interested to read it, and maybe that'll kind of be the push that I need to hopefully get back into reading, but you know, we all are very aware of the struggle that's been recently, which is a whole different kind of ball game. But I think Lauren Kate, like, also, like, she does not come up in conversation enough for the hold that she had on people in the 2000s.
Right.
Because this like subgenre really like opens up and like brings in like a lot of like these authors, you know, I'm talking Lauren Kate, I'm talking oh god, I'm blanking, the Vampire Academy author, Rochelle Mead. Yeah, like these authors really open the gate for what we have now in the like fantasy romance genre. And they do not get enough credit for it, for really pushing the envelope, because back then you had romance, you had fantasy, and then you had like very niche things, you know, like Barnes & Noble did not have a table for books that melded both together. It was very much like you had to go into like the subsection, and then it was like on shelf 3 and it was only like 5 books in this section, and then you had to go into a deep dive to find out, you know, other books from this type of genre. And so like the stuff that we have now would really have a harder time being marketable without these authors that like took a risk, you know, a decade ago.
Right.
And I just don't think they get enough credit. Looking over at my shelf and stuff, like I can see so many examples of books that probably would not exist now. You know?
there has to be a first in order for there to be a second, third, fourth.
Yeah. There has to be the person that opens the door.
Right.
In order for people to be able to walk through it. And I think it's so important and very telling that, I mean, romance is an inherently women author genre.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I think the only male romance author that I can think of is Nicholas Sparks.
The one that's mainstream, yeah.
Yeah. And even his books are like a whole different...
I don't think they're technically romance, because I don't even know if they come with a happily ever after, which like
some of them do. Like
capital R romance.
Yeah.
As
where
a
it's
genre.
like you have to have it.
You have to have a happily ever after.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's not like, romance, it's just fiction.
Yeah. I wonder. Hold on. Listeners, we'll do this in real time. Nicholas Sparks genre.
I would say he's more fiction with romance.
He writes in the contemporary
elements.
romance, romantic drama, and tragic love story genres.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Contemporary fiction.
Sparks specifically distinguishes his work from traditional romance novels by focusing on complex internal conflicts and bittersweet, often tragic endings.
Okay. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, so, I mean, there is... But I think that also is, like, something, like, a deeper conversation that could be had, which is kind of interesting, is, like, why is the only male romance author that I can think of. Why?
Not even romance.
No, not even romance in the way that we perceive it, right? Like, we get romance and we expect happy ever afters, some sort of third act breakup that usually stems from miscommunication, which is my least favorite thing.
Yes.
Whereas, like, his are always, like, with Safe Haven, for example, which is one of my favorite Nicholas Sparks stories, right? The whole premise of it literally is, like, I'm hiding from my abusive ex-husband.
Mm-hmm.
Who's gonna try to kill me at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And then, once again, sorry for the spoilers, I don't know when Safe Haven came out, but I was a young doe when it did, so I'm not gonna feel that bad. But then, like, the whole plot twist is that, like, the girl's best friend, or the only girlfriend that she's had in this town this entire time, is actually her new love interest's dead wife.
That's wild.
Yeah. It's one of my favorites. I know I sound like I'm dogging on it right now, but it's one of my favorites, but it becomes the question of, like, why aren't there more male authors in the romance genre that I can think of, right? Which might even make me go into a rabbit hole now of...
I did meet one at BookCon named Mel Walker, and he was very nice, very respectful black man who writes black contemporary romance. I have yet to read the books that I purchased from him, but they are definitely on my TBR.
Yeah, because I want to know, not to rag on men during Men's Mental Health Month, because that seems counterproductive.
Is that...
That's... Yeah.
Is that this month?
Yeah. Pride and male mental health, same month.
And Caribbean American Heritage Month?
There's a lot of things in this month.
Wild. Okay.
Same thing with, because someone was like, why is there a Pride Month but not, like, a month for our veterans? And I was like, there is a month for the veterans. It's, like, September. Not our fault it doesn't get as much national coverage.
Yeah, correct. Anyway.
Sorry. Tangent.
No, you're good.
But, yeah, I would almost be curious to try and read more male authors in the romance genre and see if the differences that I would assume are there stand out, or am I just a hater of men?
Which there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong. You know,
No.
I think Kayla and I fall into one very specific category of women, which is we hate men except our man.
Correct.
And
a small subset of...
And there's a very small subset, but that subset is constantly on a fine line.
Yeah, if you're a trusted man in our lives, you're welcome. That is a privilege.
You're part of the top 1%.
Yeah, and that will be revoked if you step out of line even a little bit. But we will also come collect you and put you in your place. But it's really, really interesting because as we're having this conversation about romance, which is kind of a little separate from Fallen, but that's okay. It's so interesting because this is like, you're talking about Fallen and Twilight and Vampire Academy and all these books that kind of like shaped your romance experience. And I had Nora Roberts and Danielle Steele. Like, we did not have the same.
Nope.
We did not have the same childhood experience.
No. My romance stems from usually traumatic plots.
Yes.
Where love ultimately prevails.
I didn't get to the trauma until I was an adult.
Man.
Maybe that would have... Maybe that was my problem. Maybe that would have fixed something.
Okay, but being on the other side of it too, you know, like...
Maybe that was also the problem.
Yeah, it also meant that, like, when romance started becoming a genuine point in my life and not just something I was reading or hoping for, I did not recognize red flags as red flags because I had been used to seeing, like, oh crap, they go through really terrible things, but, like, at the end of the day, they love each other.
Right.
You know,
that sort of, like, set an unhealthy standard.
Mm-hmm. But kind of pivoting back to Fallen for a second. With Fallen, first off, these books are not long, which I appreciate. They get longer kind of as the series continues. I think there's 5 or 6 books in the series, which was interesting to find out it was originally meant to be like 3.
Yeah. And there's not a lot of filler. Like
there's not a lot of filler.
Like anything that you would consider quote filler still
ends up being
pertains
important.
to yeah, exactly. It still pertains to the plot. Like I don't want to jump ahead, but I just finished Torment like within the past week or so, and like there's a lot of experiences that Luce and her friends are having that like become important later on.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh boy, these kids can't catch a break. And me reading this as a parent, I'm stressed. Okay?
Yeah.
I am stressed.
I don't remember anything about any of the books after.
Mm-hmm.
Anything about the rest of the series? Because that's kind of how I read growing up, is like I would go to Barnes & Noble, pick up the books, fly through them, be obsessed, have it become part of my personality, and then another book inevitably would come in and take away my attention, and then it became like a cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I'm in for a fun ride. Maybe down the line we'll read the Becca Fitzpatrick ones, so you can really understand the confusion that I felt being a little preteen and having these 2 series coming out at the same time. And maybe that's why I don't remember what happened, because I'm getting the 2 confused.
Could be. I mean, well, and then we have the point in time in Fallen, like, I specifically remember the end because, like I said, I just finished Torment, and the end of Fallen is really just like where things
Torment
pop off.
Mm-hmm.
And where Cam and Daniel, like it's Cam and the demons, I guess, against Daniel and the angels. At least that's what it comes across as.
Yeah, which makes sense.
But I need you all to know, and this is not post-Torment me talking, this is post-Fallen me. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that propaganda of light and dark, and it's never the people like that you think are the good ones that are actually the good ones. So like, and maybe that's just because I'm reading this and I'm almost 40 years old, and in my experience of picking up books and reading them, like that 9 times out of 10, like you have this person who's lifted up at this paragon of fucking virtue, and it turns out that they've made some shitty decisions. But yeah, like so
I don't remember Daniel ever doing any wrong in my eyes.
Yeah, see, that tells me everything I need to know.
I don't remember it. I'm not saying... I don't know. I'm trying to go back. I can't remember a single frickin' thing. So it'll be a nice experience for the both of us. I also think I just really enjoy the fight scenes because I love when Daniel puts paws on them. Like...
I will say, not because I know we're going to talk about Torment later. The fight scene in Torment, there's 2 fight scenes in Torment that are very, very well written. And I remember in Fallen, that main fight scene towards the end. We don't get a lot of it, but what we do get was very,
good
very
build
well.
Up.
It's very good build up. And I will say, Lauren Kate does know how to write some fucking characters.
Yeah, yeah, she does. And she's so fun to talk to.
When Penelope dies, I was distraught. I was so upset. I was like, what do you mean? What? Yeah. She is a baby. Yeah. Why? No.
Why would
like,
you do
no,
that
that's not
us?
Okay. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
But yeah, that upset me a lot. Because I was like, I'm not okay with that. And then Luce having to leave is just, boy howdy. Fallen is a great, I think, again, I know we're going to talk about Torment later. I think I like Torment more than Fallen. But Fallen is a really great introduction into the series as a whole, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think and it really makes you want to,
because you end up with
dig
so many
into the rest of the series. Yes, exactly. Like you know, Luce is having this whole like past life experience and everything, and you're like, well, how many? And by the end of Fallen, you're like, how many past lives has she had? How many times has she died? Like, what? How does that ripple across like the rest of the world? Because like Luce is a person, and all of her previous lives were people too, and they had families. I mean, she had to have parents in her previous life. Like, what does that all look like? And you do get some answers in Torment, but I still have more questions.
Yeah, because then you also think like, man, does that mean that she always has like a set of parents that are like destined to lose their child?
Yeah, which again, reading that as a parent, really not fun. Definitely giving more horror than romance. You know what I mean? Like, so boy howdy. Howdy.
Listeners, keep a lookout for Torment. We are now in the thick of it when it comes to season 4. Cool things are coming. We're planning a lot. We are tentatively getting stuff out of her shell. Yes. I feel like a little hermit crab. Or like if I come out too soon and the light's too bright, I'm going back in.
She is Punxsutawney Phil.
Yeah.
If she's her set.
If I see my shadow, there's 4 more months of depression. That's where this is going, guys.
Why is it? I was gonna say that. But except for 4 months, I was gonna be like, there's 4 more weeks or 6 more weeks of depression and darkness.
Yeah, it's gonna be bad. Yeah, at least we're honest. We've gotten to the point where we can laugh about it. You know, it's not so scary anymore, which is good.
And, you know, life's gonna life, and that's hard, and it doesn't get any easier, especially now. We're recording this on June 14th, 2026, and I don't know if you've been paying attention to the world around you, but it is a hot, steaming pile of shit.
I just had this conversation recently, which we can probably pivot this into like another episode, so we can cut this and whatever. So hold on, let me do an outro, and then we can possibly make like a whole thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening
to the Maven's bitch. I love it.
Yeah.
The listeners will love it.
The listeners will love it. So thank you, listeners, so much for being here for this episode of Fallen. We are going to end this here before we kind of just start chatting. Catch our chatting in another episode, and we will see you guys in the next one.